Yet, and as long as you do what I'm telling you, you won't lose me today, okay? And that's the important thing. Okay, so put the 5-hour energy cap back on there. That's just soapy water is all it is. Now, the powder is kept in a device like this. There's a flask here that's made of copper. You can see on that table. Here's a copper flask, brass flask. What it's designed to do is not be sparky. So you don't use glass or something that'll create a spark, because you don't want to spark with black powder. That's why you're using copper or brass, all right? Go ahead. Now, you put the powder in first, powder, patch, projectile. You don't pour directly from the flask into the barrel, because if you do that, and there's a hot ember in there, you've got 1/4 pound of powder here in your hand, you've made a grenade. It flashes back up, you're pouring powder in, boom, you know. Now that doesn't happen but once in a blue moon, but you don't want to be there when it does happen, all right? So you don't pour directly from the flask into the barrel. You don't take a powder horn like this, and like on TV and pour it in there. You don't do that. That'll get you killed, okay? Cover your ears. Okay.
Nice ring.
That's how it's done. Now, so powder, patch, projectile. Since we don't pour it directly in, we have to have a measuring device. These bags all have a measuring device in it like this. When it's all the way like you're looking at it, it has 50 grains of powder. That's what we're going to shoot out here today. This is a minimum distance, a minimum load, 50 grains. If I wanted to shoot more, that would be 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120 is the maximum load, all right? We're shooting 50 today, the smallest load. So you pour the powder in first. You use this thumb lever right here. It opens up a little trap door. You pour the powder in. Now the powder we're using is 2F for the 50 calibers. You don't have to worry about that because that's all that's in this, okay? 2F. And all the guys that are new use these two tables because they're set up for 50 caliber balls and 50 caliber rounds. This is for these guns. If you go to somebody else's table that's shooting 54 and you try to mix and match stuff, it'll mess it up.
Or 45.
Or 45s, whatever. You stay at these two tables and use the stuff that's on these tables, you're good to go.
You know from experience.
Yeah, and if you put a 54 caliber into a 50 caliber hole, you got to take a drill motor to get it out. It'll ruin your barrel.
You've got arms
right?
about this big.
Yeah.
And drive it down.
So anyway, now I've got 50 grains of powder in here. This is measured. You pour it into the barrel. Now when you do that, you don't put your face over the barrel because if there's a hot ember in there and it flashed up, you're going to lose your eyebrows, all right? But at least it's just a flash instead of 1/4 pound like a grenade, okay? So you keep your face away while you're loading. You pour the powder in. Now, just tap it like this to settle the powder into the breech, into the bottom, okay? So the powder's all at the bottom. Now powder, what's next? Patch?
Patch.
Projectile. Okay, in these bags you should find a bigger, see this little white tin is for the caps. Number 11 caps are what we're using. This one here has got patches. Now these are round patches, they're not like the square ones. You take the cap off. Now these are greased very lightly with some oil or grease of some kind. You can use Crisco, you can use bear grease, you can use bacon grease, you know,
Hobbs 9.
Grease will work. All right, so you take one patch. You got to be careful not to get two. If you get two, it gets too tight. Now you're going to have a projectile. You're going to take a ball. Now these are 4.90 balls because this is a 50 caliber hole. If you put a 50 caliber ball in a 50 caliber hole with a patch, it's too tight. It won't come out. Not easily anyway. So we're putting 4.90 ball into a 50 caliber hole, which is a 1/2 inch, and this is just a little shy of a 1/2 inch. And the difference is the patch. All right. So you put the patch centered over the barrel. You take the ball. You look for a sprue. A sprue is a flat spot on the ball because when you make these balls, you're melting the lead and pouring it into a mold. When you cut it off, you got a little flat spot. that flat spot should be pointing up. The sprue should point up because you have rifling in the barrel and you don't want the sprue into the rifling because it'll throw it off. You want the sprue top. All right, so you find a flat spot, it's right here. You place it right on the patch, and now you take your short starter. We don't have a short starter.
Yeah, it is. It's in the handle. It's in the handle.
Where?
The bag handle. Right where it's supposed to be.
This is called a short starter. It's got a little metal tip on it right here that you start the ball with. You put it on there, and you start the ball down the barrel, okay? Then you take the longer end, and put it on there, and you push it down that far. So now we got the ball right here, okay, with the patch. Now, at that point, you take your ramrod out. Put your ramrod in. Now, you don't grab it up here because these are plastic, you can get away with it, but on the wooden ramrods, you grab it up here and it bends, it breaks, it's going to be like a big splinter right through your hand, okay? You take short strokes, little ones like this, and you push it down on top of the powder until it's nice and firm. Now, once you got it all the way down, you've pushed you got the powder, you put the patch and the ball right on top of it. You don't want an air gap between the ball and the powder, because otherwise the powder starts exploding, and then by the time it reaches the ball, your explosion's in the barrel. Instead of pushing the ball out, it's wanting to blow the barrel out, okay?
Nice miss.
Okay, so once you've got it down in there, you want to make sure it's tight. The way you do that is you throw it down real tight, real hard like that. When it starts bouncing, see how it bounces? When you get that nice big bounce, that means the ball is seated good and tight against the powder. If you don't get that bounce, it's not tight. Keep doing it until you get it. Then you take your ramrod out. Again, you keep your face away from the muzzle at all times. You don't point the muzzle at anything that you don't want to shoot. All right? Now what we got is a hot weapon. Even though there's no cap on it, it's considered a hot weapon. You got a powder patch and a projectile in there, it could fire. You know, a spark is all you need. You don't put the cap on until you get up on the firing line. The firing line is anything in front of the tables. That's the firing line. Behind the table is where you're doing your loading. But when you get ready to fire, you step up to the firing line, and that's where you put your cap on it. Before you fire, you say, fire in the hole. What that means is that you're getting ready to fire, and that when you fire, there's going to be a flash, or, you know, if you got a flintlock, you actually have fire coming out of the hole, and the guy next to you gets burned. So by saying fire in the hole, you're warning everybody that you're about to fire.
Catching point. Fire in the hole.
Fire in the hole there.
Nice shot.
So by saying that, you're being courteous to the person next to you so they can step back out of the way and they don't get sprayed. These little caps, little pieces of the caps can fly off and they can get in your face and your eyes. So you always need to wear eye protection. Hearing protection and eye protection at all times. I've got a bunch of earmuffs in one of these boxes. You're welcome to grab them. They're the red earmuffs. Put those on, and especially when you're shooting, but even when you're standing back, you need something. We've also got a very few of the actual earplugs if you want to use those. So if you don't have eye protection, the bag should have at least a set of glasses somewhere to put on. If you got regular glasses, that's fine. Just something to keep the little cap, some pieces of it from getting in your eye. Don't shoot without hearing and eye protection, all right? Also, if you're a smoker, you don't smoke while you're loading. The black powder obviously is, all it takes is a spark. You see guys out on the rendezvous smoking a pipe and trying to load his weapon, you know, and you're saying, yeah, anytime. So obviously there's no smoking. If you're a drinker, and I don't know that many of us here are, but if you're a drinker, you don't drink and shoot at the same time. If you're gonna drink, you wait till the end of the day, after the shooting's over. Alcohol and black powder don't mix. Deadly.
Alcohol and guns don't mix.
Now, when you're handling a weapon, you consider it loaded at all times. I don't care if you know it's unloaded, you handle it as though it is loaded. Well, what that means is muzzle control. You always keep the muzzle pointed in a direction that's safe. Straight up, straight down, or down range, but you never point it at anybody or anything that you don't want to shoot at. All right? You don't put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to fire. So even up until the last second when you're ready to fire, then you put your finger on the trigger, not before. Because you don't want an accident. You don't want any, we've never had anybody hurt. We don't want to ever get anybody hurt. muzzle control, finger off the trigger, hearing and eye protection. Any questions on that? These are the caps. They're already in this piece of leather. All you got to do is put the cap onto the nipple and pull it. Make sure it stays on, all right? This is half cock. When you're loading it, it should be on half cock. When you're ready to fire it, you pull it all the way back to full cock. Got it? Fire in the hole.
50 caliber. Hang fire.
Now, we may have some bad caps. I got some caps that are no good, so we have to make sure. When that happens though, when it doesn't fire, you just keep the muzzle pointed downrange for a minute because you don't know. And I'm going to try a different cap. If that's out of the same box, it may not be any good either.
We got. Try one of these.
Also, you can have that happen if somebody's been dry firing without protecting the nipple. The nipple will widen out so that when you put the cap on it and then you fire it, it's not right up against the steel next to the touch hole in the nipple. So that's one of the reasons if you're going to dry fire, you either need to remove the nipple or you need to use a plumbing washer to where it won't flatten out the end of your nipple.
Okay, so now we're going to try it again. Again, if it happens to you, just keep it pointed down range. If the cap goes off and it doesn't fire the powder, but you heard the cap go off, then it could be cooking. If the powder was damp, it could still be in there cooking. So you don't look in the barrel, see why it didn't go off. You know what I'm saying? Keep it pointed down range, all right? Now, after a minute, you put another cap on it and try it again. Fire in the hole.
And if you want, I can send you a video of a guy that did that with a shotgun.
Can I use those earplugs?
Yeah.
Fortunately, he was lucky.
Then you take the old cap off, you just drop it on the ground, put it back on half cock, and it's ready to be reloaded.
May or may not be able to.
I think he has that one just out for show.
How many count are you videoing?
I'm videoing.
By the way, it's kind of cool.
You know, you might have had a crease in your...
Woohoo!
Rifle seems to be much more accurate.
I'll pick it up in a...
Ready?
Fire in the hole.
Can I use the stand?
Oh, go figure. All right. Ready?
Fire in the hole.
Can I use the stand?
Oh, go figure. All right.
A lot less time to unload.
Yeah. Yeah, it fired.
That fires.
Told you it would be a fire.
Yep.
Good shot.
We'll eat tonight.
Yes, that's part of water.
I'm gonna try it.
And it's safe.
Black powder is very corrosive.
I would picture you doing it with your pocket. Ready? Mythbuster. A lot more kick. A lot more kick. You should have prepared me. Okay.
Mike?
See what I mean?
Mike?
Yeah.
I want you to collect up any muffs left behind.
Might be getting closer.
You see the dots on the side.
I know we put all of ours away.
Okay.
Oh, I got one. Woohoo!
Hey.
I'm sure a shot laying around anywhere.
You're still done.
I'm still done? Oh.
Now you're done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, it's locked. Had a good time.
Well, that was low. I didn't even know where that one hit.
Take your time, son. Take your time.
Right.
Ring that bell.
Oh, you're right there.
Oh, I'll get out of your way,
No,
guys.
I don't like it. Okay.
Put your left foot out in front of you a little more. There you go.
All right.
I wasn't.
Nice ring.
You can pull it back to half cock.
Did you hear that ricochet? Huh? No, did you hear it ring?
I
Okay.
I didn't tell you how
Daddy
far.
always used to say, hey, it's your dream.
pot?
You dream any way you want to.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
didn't
Tell you how
right?
far away I was.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
It's actually
Now.
the flame coming out of the end of the
Take
barrel that lights the match.
Number.
I got a picture of Glenn shooting his
Where are my number
and,
10s?
Over there, I think.
It'll
Probably
cut it
back
just
in here.
right. Well, actually, Barney took the picture.
Good
But
enough?
it shows the big puff of smoke out of the end of the barrel.
Here we go.
Fire about this far coming through
Now,
out the end of the
the
barrel.
next
Okay.
thing we
Through
do,
the smoke.
I might as well put my glass. Well,
Shoot all day out here for $10.
Okay.
Why I'm like it.
Okay, that's
Fits my
going to put it up too high.
That's the kind it is.
And I like
That's
arrangements
not-
too.
There you go.
It's just like
There you go. You take the
I lost my balance.
left hand, you put your right hand up here. Okay. Stand there. Now look, yeah. Pull the back one. Pull the
Is it
back
pa-
one.
that's-
Don't, once it clicks, don't touch that front one till you're
Good.
ready to go. Put it over in that black range bag.
This is a safe sport.
They shoot with the heart sticks. They survive the thoughts of those.
I know.
Said I'm going to shoot the hot sticks.
I think it is.
I can send you a video of a guy that did that with a shotgun.
Can I use those earplugs?
Fortunately, he was lucky.
You may have some bad caps.
1, 2, 3.